More of his story later. He came back. But if you're missing a dog, we are here to hopefully reunite you. Email a photo to alan@itv.com along with the details, and we'll make a live appeal later in the show and see if we can get your dog back. Wish us luck. But before all that, we're asking, is it ever OK to pay for sex? A care home has recently been accused of inviting in working ladies to offer special services to their disabled residents, and it's also been reported that Britain's first establishment offering such facilities, specifically for those with disabilities, will open next year. So, is there anything wrong with such practices? Let's ask the madam of that very establishment, Becky Adams. Becky, you're welcome. So, how come it's legal to do that, whereas brothels per se are illegal?
OK, well, just briefly, obviously, brothels are illegal in the UK, although prostitution is legal, so it's perfectly legal to buy sex or to sell sex. So
But it's not legal to tout for it or to run a house where you can go for it.
That's right. All sort of third-party involvement is illegal in the UK. But what we intend to do at Para Doxies is actually set up as a sexual wellbeing centre. So rather than, as you would imagine, a brothel, somewhere that somebody would just sort of pop in their lunch hour, roll about with a naughty nurse for half an hour, we're actually not like that. We're running as a team of professionals working with sex therapists, tantric massage therapists. So it's all very professional and it's all very well organised. So if you wanted to come and see us, although you look quite able-bodied to me...
That's the best compliment I've had all day.
The best offer.
It's the only offer for weeks. Yes.
But what we would do with you, delightful as you are, is your first meeting with us would be with a sex therapist, and they would find out what your issues were and what you'd like to achieve.
Oh, God, have they got long enough?
you might need more than the usual number of sessions, but...
It's getting better by the minute, really.
But we can do that thing for you with the jelly and ice cream. That's okay.
We'll talk about this afterwards. Asto, you've done this. You've been to Spain and you went to brothel because, you know, you are pretty heavily disabled. I mean, is this something that you really think should be allowed? There should be facilities like this?
I do,
in this country?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, granted, it's going to be a little bit more difficult in this country, but at the end of the day, if we strip this thing completely down, excuse the pun, it's about human contact. And people with disabilities can't automatically get up and go to hug someone. So if I was to come over and hug you, I couldn't do it. I'd have to ask you. So people with disabilities need that human contact. It's a therapy, you know, and the reason why I did it was because my friend died without having that experience, and we used to talk about it all the time at school. And, you know, ever since I did the BBC documentary, we've got a movie out about it. I've just finished filming with Channel 4. That goes out this year. And it's just, you know, it keeps going on and on because it'll never go away, you know?
Do you know, it's interesting, because we always try and do balanced discussions about things like this. We tried to find somebody who would say this is completely wrong. And we couldn't find anybody. Carol, you were the nearest we could find to understanding what a lot of people might think about this.
I think there's an assumption in society. I mean, I so don't think it's wrong, but I think there is an assumption in society. It's uncomfortable to talk about. I think there's an assumption that disabled people are in some way asexual, that they don't need to do it. And it's something we don't talk about. You know, it's because it's sex, but, you know, we all have this Hollywood vision of sex, that it's perfect people with perfect bodies doing it. And it is not the case. And it's very arrogant and very insensitive of us as a society not to imagine that disabled people need and want sex in exactly the same way as we do.
Can I just ask, Asto, was it life-changing from your point of view?
Absolutely, because the minute I had that experience was the minute I was able to think that, yeah, you know, I can go out and get a relationship and I'm not going to be worried about this side. And let's be honest, there is discrimination in society.
Completely.
But at the end of the day, when we talk about the birds and the bees, when a bee goes up to pollinate a flower, does it discriminate against the flower?
Well, actually, in terms of botany, yes, because it depends on flower colour. Could you see, though, here, Becky, something happening which is society at large saying, you know, what you might call normal heterosexual males, and I don't mean that you're abnormal, you know what I'm saying? The run-of-the-mill heterosexual male would say, well, hang on a minute, if it's all right for the likes of Asto to have a place where they can go and get this, why can't we? And wouldn't it then have to be broadened so that, in fact, brothels became legal? When does a house that will provide sexual therapy on a measured basis like yours become a brothel, basically?
Well, there are already many, you know, sort of sexual therapy centres in the UK where you have a sex therapist working with sex surrogates, working either with couples or individual males to help them with all sorts of various medical problems. That already exists. That's perfectly legal, as do houses of ill repute. They already exist.
But they're not legal?
No, they're not legal, but they still exist, and the number of people who are using them are doubling every decade, so it's a kind of a growth industry.
But I think this has been going on. I think, you know, sex in care homes and sex that's brought into care homes has been going on for a very long time. Just people haven't talked about it, done anything about it, and I would like to see someone try and prosecute someone who was helping a disabled person. It's never going to happen, not in a million years, and nor should it.
I think the problem is when you look at care homes in any respect, whether it's elderly or disability, that you automatically think that person's just going to get fed medication, fed food, get the bums wiped. But at the end of the day, in their care plan, does it say, what are your intimate needs? What are your sexual needs? No. And because that's the case, that's why this has come up.
My only fear about this is that this is open to people like yourself being ripped off, in the sense that it has to be organised absolutely properly, because people who are vulnerable, people who can't...
Absolutely.
Money could be taken, because this money isn't paid by taxpayers for these guys. It's actually paid out of their own pockets. So unless it's done properly and monitored properly, my fear is that vulnerable people might be ripped off.
That's right, and also, you know, from our point of view... you know, we have to be very careful. We have a duty of care to our clients, and we have to be very careful who we organise to go and help clients. Now, bearing in mind, we work with gentlemen with disabilities, ladies, and many, many couples to help couples, maybe one with a disability or both. And we make sure that all our staff, people who work with us, are fully checked, you know, with enhanced police checks. They all have first aid training.
So it needs careful monitoring to make sure it doesn't slip the other side of the way.
Absolutely.
Well, that's you're welcome. Listen, you will help them be more around the country, presumably.
Yeah, at the end of the day, everyone in society needs to start loving each other more.
Yeah.
And we need to get rid of the stigma attached to this as well, because there is one, and we've got to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Why don't you let us know what you think? Email us at alan@itv.com. Fascinating discussion. Thanks, all of you, for coming. My thanks to Becky, to Asta and to Carol. Thank you. Thank you. If my wife's watching, it's all right, dear. I won't make inquiries backstage afterwards. Still to come, from fuller figures to no curves at all, Miley in Class reveals how to embrace your figure, whatever your shape or size. Plus, find out why Dragon's Den stars Theo Paphitis and Peter Jones are getting down with the kids. Straight after this.
On the show this week, Al Murray, Vincent